Ancient Anasazi Disappearance, Lost Civilization and Unsolved History. Imagine standing on the edge of a cliff in the dry desert lands of the American Southwest. The air is still, the sun bakes the rocks a fiery red, and shadows stretch across ancient stone walls. Before your eyes, towers carved into the cliffs, homes once filled with laughter, songs, and daily life. You see Kivas round ceremonial chambers sunk into the earth, built with care and meaning. You imagine children playing, families grinding corn, and elders telling stories under the stars. Yet now, silence reigns. No footsteps echo through the stone passages. No fires burn in the hearths. The people who lived here, the Anasazi, or ancient Puebloans, are gone. Their disappearance is one of the greatest mysteries in American history, and to this day, no one knows for sure what truly happened. The Anasazi were not a small wandering tribe. They were builders of cities, architects of stone, and masters of survival in some of the harshest landscapes on Earth. They built Chaco Canyon with massive great houses, some rising 4 or 5 stories high, containing hundreds of rooms. They carved entire villages into cliffs at Mesa Verde, seemingly unreachable fortresses clinging to the rock. They built roads that stretched 4 miles, perfectly straight, connecting settlements across states. They aligned buildings with the movement of the sun, moon, and stars, showing a deep knowledge of astronomy. Imagine a society so advanced that their buildings still stand strong nearly 1,000 years later. And yet, all of it was abandoned. Why? What could drive an entire civilization to walk away from everything they had built? That's the mystery. Around the late 1200s, something happened. Villages were left behind, cities emptied, ceremonial sites silenced. The Anasazi disappeared, leaving behind ruins, pottery, and artifacts. But no clear explanation. Historians call it one of America's greatest unsolved histories. Some believe the answer lies in the land itself. The Southwest is beautiful, but unforgiving. Rain is scarce, rivers run dry, and crops fail easily. Under the burning sun, scientists have found evidence of a long drought during the time the Anasazi vanished. Imagine years without enough rain, cornfields drying up, families facing hunger. What would you do if your children were starving and the rivers had turned to dust? Perhaps they were forced to leave, searching for new lands where water flowed and survival was possible. But could a drought alone explain the abandonment of so many great cities? Others suggest conflict. Archaeological evidence shows signs of violence-burned villages, bones with marks of battle, even fortified walls built to defend against enemies. Could the Anasazi have been attacked by rivals? Were there wars between neighboring groups, desperate for resources? Or did internal conflicts tear their society apart from within? The desert contests not just the body, but the spirit, pushing people to the edge. And then there are the darker, more mysterious theories. Some legends speak of spirits, curses, or supernatural events. Oral traditions passed down by native communities tell stories of migrations, punishments from the gods, or forces beyond human understanding. While historians focus on practical explanations like climate and conflict, stories whisper of something stranger. Did the Anasazi vanish because of something we cannot see or measure? Something woven into the myths of the desert? But before we get lost in mystery, we must remember something important. The Anasazi may not have vanished completely. Many archaeologists believe they became the ancestors of today's Pueblo tribes, Tehopi, Zuni, and others who still live in the Southwest and keep ancient traditions alive. Their dances, ceremonies, and oral stories carry echoes of the Anasazi world. In their language and culture, the Anasazi live on, but the puzzle remains. If the people continued, why were their massive cities abandoned? Why leave behind such incredible achievements? That question still burns like the desert sun. Picture walking through Chaco Canyon at night. The moon casts light on massive stone walls, and the desert wind carries whispers through the ruins. You look up at the stars, the same stars the Anasazi watched and aligned their temples with. You wonder what final ceremony took place here before they left. Was there a meeting of leaders who decided it was time to move on? Did families pack what they could carry and walk away, never to return? Or was there something more sudden, more tragic, that left these places frozen in time. Imagine the cliff dwellings at Mesa Verde. Hundreds of rooms built into the rock, some only reachable by climbing narrow ladders. These were not temporary shelters. They were permanent homes, carefully constructed. Why abandon them? Why not stay and fight through hardship? The silence of these dwellings is haunting, as if the people stepped out one day and never returned. Now think about this. Every civilization faces challenges, droughts, wars, disasters. They happen across history. But not every civilization simply walks away. The Anasazi left behind not just homes, but their entire world. To this day, that choice remains unexplained. Some researchers suggest migration was planned. Maybe the Anasazi did not vanish, but chose to leave, joining other communities and blending into new cultures. This would explain why Pueblo traditions today echo Anasazi ways. If that is true, then their disappearance was not a tragedy, but a transformation. Still, the ruins remain, standing empty, a reminder of a lost chapter. Others, however, point to signs of something more unsettling. Was life so desperate that people turned against each other? If true, it paints a picture of collapse, driven by survival at any cost. Yet even other questions remain. How widespread was this? And was it enough to end a civilization? And then there are those who connect the Anasazi mystery to broader patterns of lost civilizations. Across the world, great cultures have risen and fallen. Maya, Olmec, the builders of Easter Island, even the Roanoke colony, centuries later, all left behind questions and ruins that spark curiosity. Is the Anasazi disappearance part of a greater story about humanity, about how even the mightiest societies can vanish into mystery? As you think about these possibilities, let me ask you, what do you believe? Do you think the Anasazi were victims of drought and climate change? Were they pushed away by conflict and violence? Did they merge into other cultures, quietly continuing their story? Or do you believe in the whispers of something more mysterious, something still hidden in the deserts of the Southwest? One thing is certain. The ruins remain. They stand as silent witnesses to a people who achieved greatness in one of the toughest environments in the world. Their disappearance may never be fully explained, but maybe that's the point. Maybe the power of their story lies in the mystery itself. So next time you see a picture of Mesa Verde's cliff dwellings, or the massive great houses of Chaco Canyon, look closely. Imagine the people who lived there. Imagine their struggles, their dreams, their final days in those stone walls. And remember, the silence of the ruins is not just emptiness. It is a voice asking us to keep searching, to keep wondering, to keep the story alive. What do you think really happened to the Anasazi people? Share your thoughts below, because every theory adds to the story of this great mystery. And if you enjoyed this journey into the past, please like this video, subscribe for more, and join us as we continue to explore history's most fascinating unsolved mysteries. Because history is not just about answers. Sometimes it's about questions, and the disappearance of the Anasazi may be one of the greatest questions of all.